I've got a lot of projects over there right now.
I know. I've got a nice slice here. Hi, my name is Trista Perot, and I am with Mommy Upgrade, a Dallas lifestyle blog. And I'm also a marketing consultant, and I'm joined by my BFF of 30 gazillion years, Molly Johnson, who is in Ohio. We call this show Mommy Upgrade Live because we talk about a lot of stuff that is blog worthy, and sometimes we can't blog about it fast enough to get it out there. So starting a conversation tonight about a couple of things. The format we do is kind of a product review, a craft, kind of quick segments to kind of fill the room, and then we do a heavier topic. And tonight's topic is kids, sports, and injuries. You want to introduce yourself, Molly?
Yeah. Threw it right out there. Yeah, Molly Johnson, and I have I do marketing and consulting and freelancing, and I have a website for fun, meggymoo.com, where I'm kind of, crafting away there, and when I get a chance, put stuff out there. But you said, we can't blog fast enough too, but this is a great forum for obviously conversations, more engagement, more immediate engagement, because a lot of times we're talking about things that we're trying to talk through and get more advice on too. So
yeah, so we like it when you have comments and can contribute as well. So please do that. So this is late for us.
I know, I'm really tired. It's really late for me, by the way. It's 9 o'clock.
I know. But we usually do this show in the mornings at 9 o'clock in the morning, Central Time. 8 o'clock for Molly, but we're going to try, 10 o'clock for Molly, but we're going to try doing an evening show and see how that goes. So I need 1 second. There's a scratch at my door and it's not going to go away until I open it. So talk about something. Okay. You were going to talk about the,
how long is it going to take you to answer the door?
In just a second.
So today, we want to talk about sports injury and in youth and kids and that kind of stuff, because really with so much, there's so many layers to youth in sports in general. Is that your while I'm gone look? Yeah, we're going to break some things down because sports injury is obviously a topic right now all over for adults or kids. So we don't have any, well, my husband plays and he just plays golf. But so we want to kind of break it down and talk about youth injury and prevention and all that kind of stuff. But we also do a couple other quick things, a product review and a craft. So I'm in charge of product review today, right? And I have a very unusual product review because usually I'm the techie person. So is Trista, but in my circle, and I tend to always have new tech. But today I have a domestic item to review, which is outside of my normal thing. So I just ordered, and I've received, and I've used it once. It's kind of embarrassing. The Power Pressure Cooker XL. So it's the as seen on TV one. I'm sure you have those commercials that go on and on and on about how, the meat pulls off the bone. And I kept watching these dumb commercials like, how come everyone doesn't have one? Like, why would I cook my meat for an hour if it could really be done in 10 minutes? So I was very skeptical, but then I ordered it not off of that website. Right. Yeah.
Hey, Kendra.
They do these commercials at like 3 a.m. and I'm not an as seen on TV kind of person, but because I'm always so skeptical, but like a lot of the recipes. And so I'm like, I don't understand. Now I have an old fashioned pressure cooker and I used it once and I'm scared to death of it because I'm afraid it's going to explode. And I wasn't quite in tune with how much water needs to go because it's pressurized steam that's supposed to infuse these juices to make these meats or products much better. You can cook a lasagna with uncooked noodles in like 20 minutes. So I know.
You made lasagna in a pressure cooker. Are you talking about a crock pot?
No, I use my crock pot all the time. I'm talking about a pressure cooker that you cannot open while it's cooking.
Okay.
It locks and it steams. Do you have an old fashioned pressure cooker?
No.
Okay. Well, I use my crock pot all the time. Love my crock pot, but
This is like in high school. You used to think you had to cook salad.
listen, that's because our oven in my house was used to melt metal.
This is like Freaky Friday.
That's what I'm saying. This is outside of my like world. I'm not, but I love my crock pot, but you can't put frozen meat in your crock pot unless you want it to cook for 2 days. Okay. So I was intrigued because I'm constantly forgetting to bring meat out to thaw. I'm not organized, but we plan our.
How much was it? How much was it?
Okay, well, here's the thing. On the asking,
I think it was too much.
No, that's the thing. On TV, it was like, I think I noticed it was like 3 payments for $33. So it was around $100. And I'm sure, I don't know if they had shipping on top of that. I have no idea. I didn't purchase it from on TV, but I purchased the thing I saw on TV because when I went to where I ordered it off Kohl's because I had like rewards, Kohl's Cash, right. Always working.
We talked about how insane.
And I know, I feel like I'm stealing from them. But the other reason I ordered from Kohl's was because in theory, if I had an issue with it, I could return it. It's like if it didn't really work out, I felt like I would have a better chance with Kohl's than shipping it back to wherever I'm at on the ASC TV thing. So I even read the reviews. I've done far more research than I've done on computers when I've purchased them on this pressure cooker. I'm not kidding. I've watched YouTube videos. I read the cookbook from, because I was like, what? Why does everyone have one? So I ordered it off Kohl's, ended up costing with whatever my deals, my discounts and all that kind of stuff would be, it was like $85. So then I got it in the mail. And so I made my first recipe from it and I put in 4 pounds of frozen chicken wings or, like chicken on the bone. I know you hate meat on the bone, but these were frozen bag of Kroger's chicken wings.
You're grossing me out.
Super Bowl, right?
I
know. I wasn't watching Super Bowl. My husband was. So I said, I'll make you some wings in this crock pot. We'll see how, or in this pressure cooker. We'll see how it goes. So you put the wings in. I dumped a container of barbecue sauce and butter, but I think it was a typo in the recipe. I don't know why I said to do butter. I seriously think it was a typo. And locked it in place. And you push this one button and it warms up, which starts to warm up the steam. And you have to put the little steam thing in one position so that it holds in the steam. And it cooked for 10 minutes. It beeped. Frozen meat. It beeped. So I turned the little pressure thing out so it releases all the steam. Once all the steam is released, then it unlocks because you can't open it. It would burn you. You can't open it until it releases all the steam. Open it up. This meat fell off the bone. It was phenomenal. Phenomenal. And you can can with it too.
Can? Oh, you mean you put the cans in it? Or
canning. No, you don't put a can in a pressure cooker. Canning. Like ball glass things.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. I'll stick to But anyways, so I have more recipes to
don't you boil your jars first? Are you talking about just making the jars ready, or are you talking about actually like making the jelly in the pressure cooker? Oh, okay. Okay.
No, actually canning it. Like boil, like you have to boil the water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know how it's been years since I've canned, but I don't know. So don't be impressed with the canning. Be impressed that supposedly. Now I'm going to do a roast this week, but the roast supposedly takes 30 minutes. And you only add 10 minutes for a frozen item. Sanity.
Does it come with a cookbook? How do you know how to use it?
Literally, I've done more research than I can tell you. It does come with a cookbook. It's not a spectacular cookbook. Hence the typo that really did say put the wings and the butter in, and there was no reference to butter anywhere else in the list of ingredients you needed. So I don't know where that came from. I feel like writing to them and saying you have a typo in your book. And they gave me a little book. You can make chili, French onion soup. So I texted a couple friends and asked them if they had them. And a couple people hadn't, but their moms did, or, you know, like they knew other people that did. And so like our friend Sarah. And so I'm telling you, if I can cook a frozen piece of meat, that will change my life. I am not organized enough half the time to remember to unthaw the meat to have it 2 days later. It doesn't work out. Then I end up throwing it away. So I'm telling you, I would recommend it for sure.
And what brand?
That's my product review so far. Huh?
What brand is it? You have a picture of it?
Well, here's the thing. It was the acid. I think it's called. It's by Oster.
Oster.
But it's the one that's As Seen TV. And then when I went on Kohl's, because I thought, again, I'm so skeptical about As Seen TV on TV. So I looked at the reviews and compared it to the Cuisinart, and this one had better reviews. So thank you. Kendra said it sounded delicious, and it was.
I believe you. I just don't do meat on the bone. It's not my thing.
No, I know. But if you can do a frozen roast, a pork loin or something like that, then, and it can be frozen and it only adds 10 minutes, then that's a lifesaver when you're flying home. And so the process for the lasagna is you still have to brown the meat. You can't put raw hamburger and expect it to brown. So anything you have to brown, you still have to kind of sear or brown or whatever. But you literally put in the cooked hamburger, uncooked noodles, a jar of sauce, cook it for 20 minutes, and you've got lasagna and cheese or whatever you do with lasagna. See, I don't even know. Sugar, I don't know. I don't know what you put in lasagna. I know, but I'd have.
That's my biggest problem with my crock pot.
Exactly, that's my thing.
Is that you still you have to cook the meat first. You have to cut up all these vegetables. You have to, partially cook this, and then you put it all together and you let it cook for 8 hours. Well, how's that saving me time? It just means I'm doing it earlier in the day instead of at the end of the day. Well,
you have to do that kind of a little bit with this, but the point is that you can put in, and make me hungry. You have to put in, but you can put in frozen whatever, which saves, and it has a timer on it, so you could start it in the morning. And
it has a timer too.
Well, I don't know. I was pretty excited.
Okay,
there is a timer.
All right, I'll have to check that out.
So that's my product review.
That's a product review. Okay,
you're doing a craft.
I did do a craft.
I didn't get
because we are.
I didn't get.
Huh? What'd you say?
I didn't get to my craft this weekend.
I know. I was way more.
All of my hands are black from the school project.
The school project? What'd you do there?
Megan has a school project due in a couple days, and it's going to be phenomenal.
Oh, is this the cellular?
Yeah, you have to do. Every child probably has to do this at some point in their science careers. They have to do a 3D or a poster of a plant cell, which has like the membrane and the ribosomes and all that stuff. So we compromised. She wouldn't let me do it out of polymer clay, but because I would have thought that would have been something that teachers would have passed on to other teachers.
Oh, so it would have longevity. She could sign the bottom.
Hey, listen, some of my projects are legendary at the school. Some are shown as examples for years after.
Okay.
Set the bar, raise the bar.
Okay. All right.
Or embarrass your child, whichever one comes first.
I think so I have craft today. So my craft last Friday night and Saturday morning in the wee hours was, of course, everything is all things Girl Scout cookies right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you're showing this. So much fun.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw all your photos, but.
Well, the thing is for at least our region for Girl Scouts, they have a contest, and neither you nor I are competitive at all. So, yeah. So there's a contest.
Only when it comes to crafts.
Yeah, called Bling Your Booth. And so you post pictures of your Girl Scout booth to social media, you tag it, bling your booth, and then
I didn't realize you did.
yeah, and so then you can win money for your troop. So I've been slowly kind of piecing together things, you know, to bling our booth, which is why I did the big hula hoop things to start. So anyway, this was my last weekend. I won't be able to get the whole thing in here, but I did. Can you see that?
What made that super cute was your location too.
Oh,
that
yeah.
place that you go to.
Oops, that one's backwards. So, la, 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 la.
So cute.
Let me see if I can find a picture of it real quick. So, yeah, we were at the Vintage House in Carrollton, which is Miss Nan's pink house and a historic, it's an old historic home. Okay, here's a cute picture. So we had, I don't know how well it's going to come across from my phone. Not at all. Can't see it at all, can you? Maybe a little bit.
No, you just got to, you post it, follow it on Twitter. You can kind of see it, kind of. You get the gist of it. You got to be able to know that those are big cookies that you've got as costumes.
Anyway, so we hung it up on her front porch outside. So it turned out really cute. But basically, I mean, this wasn't a hard thing. I just made a template for it, and it's felt and a whole bunch of scrap fabric. But I think what makes it are these letters. And they look like somebody bought cookies just because they like the banner, and they said, "Oh, I was Cookie Mom once. I can see how much effort you went into it. I'm going to buy cookies from you, even though I already have
that's
some."
Nice.
Like, oh,
a mercy purchase.
It was a mercy
purchase from another mom.
Totally. But what the couple of people who stopped and like completely investigated it, because they obviously were crafters, they're like, "Oh, do you have an embroidery machine?" I was like, "No, these are the best thing ever." So these are, because I got enough to make another one. They're iron-on.
They're cute.
They're so stinking easy. You just iron them on for 30 seconds on each side. So I put it on the felt, you know, before I sewed it. So just put a rag over it and stick it on the felt and iron it for 30 seconds. And then you flip over the felt to iron the backside for 30 seconds. And then it's done. And it looks so professional. These were, I thought, too expensive. They were $2.75 a letter. No.
I know, that's where you get your coupon and you have to give it to your kid then you have to keep going back through.
Yeah. No, I take it back.
That's expensive for each
letter. $2.50 a letter, but I had a 25% off coupon or something. So I think it brought it down to like $7.75 per letter, which was almost too much for me to do, but
at least you didn't do like, well, cookies. You won't be able to use that again. I mean, for Girl Scouts you will, but
yeah, no. But I considered the time it would have taken me to make a template on my silhouette and cut it out of felt and then sew it on. I was like, yeah, that's worth $1.75. So.
Yeah, I would have done vinyl. You wouldn't have been able to tell it was hanging. You could have done vinyl in 5 minutes.
You're talking about heat transfer vinyl?
Heat transfer.
Yeah. I did think about that. But the only color I have is gray right now. Gray and black. And I didn't think either of those would show up very well. So. Anyway,
gotta have stuff in reserve.
Yeah, I don't do that much with the heat transfer, so I don't have it in reserve. But anyway, so that's my tip if you're making one of these, is that you thread it through and then sew it, because it's too hard to.
So you don't have to
try to.
Yeah,
exactly. Anyway, so that's my craft.
Super cute. So. Go ahead and tell people what you did because does everyone else do this? I'm so out of touch with Girl Scouts, but your contest this weekend to the football teams, Super Bowl.
Oh, we so for our cookie booth, because it was Super Bowl weekend, we were trying to encourage cookie sales. I made actually I have them right here. So the cookies box colors correspond with the banner. So like each color on the banner represents one of the boxes of cookies. And so because it
Oh, I didn't know that.
yes, that's why those colors are on there. Because it was Carolina versus North Carolina, we took the orange box of cookies, which is
Carolina versus Carolina.
I'm sorry?
It was Carolina. It was Carolina versus North Carolina. Even I know that's not what it was.
Denver,
Yeah.
North Carolina. So Denver's orange.
Said Carolina. I just had to point that out because I don't.
That's all I have to say about it. So for the orange box, we called them Denver Do-si-dos because they're do-si-dos. And so we tied with the colored tool, tied it around the box, and then, tied this as like a tag onto the box and told people, oh, do you have your Super Bowl snacks ready? You can take these to your Super Bowl party. And so for the Carolina team, we did the same thing on a blue box, except those were called trefoils. So we called them Crunchy Carolina trefoils.
I think that's awesome.
And so then we kept a running total to see.
Want to buy?
Well, we kept
want to buy part of their team.
Which cookie was more popular and was going to win our cookie bowl, and it was Denver.
Who won the game?
Denver.
Perfect.
You didn't watch?
Then you predicted.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So you want to talk about our main?
That is super fun.
Oh. Yeah, it was fun. It was all weekend cookie booth. So.
You feel like your sales were increased because of that?
No. It was cute though and memorable. Maybe. I mean, people they didn't want to take the decorated boxes though. Like it drew attention to those two cookies that are not big sellers. And so they did buy those, but it wasn't, they didn't want the ones with they were afraid to take the pretty ones. They were like, oh no, I'm not going to a party. I don't need that one. I'll just get this instead. Like, okay. So I gave them to,
well, I think it was cute.
I gave the extras to the Girl Scouts in my troop because they were over here on Sunday making stuff for International Day. So anyway. That's it.
Oh my gosh, my computer's battery shut down.
No, you're not allowed.
It's like shutting down for updates. No!
Not right now. Later. Okay, so you ready to talk about?
Well, yeah, so kids and injuries. Sports injuries, youth sports.
Yeah.
You want to jump in? I got some notes.
That's enough.
So I will preface this by saying we have 6 kids total, blended family. Every single one of them have played competitive sports, if not all the kids actually played. Well, no, most of the kids have all played. I would consider, travel, competitive, very high competitive sport. Most of them played 2 sports. Some of them played 3 sports. And we were we're not through I've got 3 still left playing sports. 3 have graduated and are not playing sports. And we've been relatively lucky with injuries. However, in light of lots of the conversations now around concussions, 2 of my kids have had, my stepkids have had concussions, if not multiple concussions. 1, because he's a football player, and 2, which he's a sophomore in high school, I think he's not playing football again. And a lot of it is some of this conversations of concussions and stuff, but some of it is because he's going to focus on other sport. But my other soccer player, my other stepson plays soccer, and he had multiple concussions. And then actually Grant had multiple concussions too. So, but there's a lot of other injuries we can talk about. We're talking about ASL, like the torn ACLs, we have like, broken bones, whatever. I think hopefully the concussion stuff has opened up conversations, particularly then how it rolls down to the pressures that we're putting on for our kids to play multiple sports at the same time, total guilty of, playing all the time, playing every day, maybe not properly resting, maybe not properly under the care of a coach who can warm kids up or identify form that could cause injury down the road. So these are good conversations to have, and good conversations as moms to still understand how we can prevent these types of injuries.
What age did your kids start playing sports?
4, 5,
yeah.
Most of them. And it wasn't intended to, I don't care if my kids play in college. I don't care if my kids play beyond right now. That is an unusual philosophy I've found. I'm not the typical mom on the field that is hoping my kids are going to get major scholarships. I personally just want to wear them out. That's all I want them to do. I want them to be exhausted when they get home. But I mean, I say that kind of jokingly, but I do. I want them to be active, and I want them to be in peer groups that are active. So I'm hoping that they'll, the 2 younger ones we have left, and they will continue to play school sports and active sports because it's a healthy thing to do. And it's not playing video games. It's not playing, kind of sitting around. And I feel like getting them in these things are opportunities that for something to do, opposed to kind of just running around. Luckily, they all love sports. So they're not being pushed into sports because I feel like they should. They love sports. Jake got up this morning at 5 a.m. He's a sophomore in high school. He goes to baseball. He comes home. He takes a shower. He goes back to school. He's at school by 6. Loves it. He wants to compete at the next level. So that's important to him. So, but as I was kind of preparing for these conversations, a couple of the warning signs that come out are: don't let your kids play sports every day. Don't let them focus on just one sport, and make sure that, they're under good guidance of identifying how to prevent, injuries before they happen.
Yeah.
So
it's a huge topic.
Like, for instance, it is huge. Like, for instance, my daughter is doing private training, speed and agility training. She's
for soccer,
super fast, and for soccer, she seems to have what they're telling me is as a good aptitude, or for being a good soccer player. So I hope, and she loves it. And so, and she's fast, but she wanted to keep working on that. And so I got her a private trainer. And the one thing, this is the first time I've heard of this, and this is 6 kids down. She's the last one who said, I'm going to train her and see what her form looks like, because if she's running, I'm not that knowledgeable. If she's running a certain way, or if I see her form kind of slipping into this one area, then I'm going to try to change her form so that she's not positioning herself for injury down the road. I'm like, oh yeah. So your form can affect how you can be injured. I don't think of these things. I just think, I'm sure, like, you always think of it as they've fallen, or they've gotten hit, or they've been tripped, or they fell over, something that's happened that makes them injured. But truly, it's the amount of stuff they do to their body that also breaks down their muscles if they don't have good form. So and that's the first time I've heard someone say, we want to make sure she has good form so she cannot be, hopefully she can avoid these types of injuries in the future. Yeah.
So there's a really cool, well, I don't know if it's cool, but there's a comprehensive website called stopsportsinjuries.org. Did you see that? And
no, that was not one of
those. That children ages 5 to 14 account for nearly 40% of all sports-related injuries treated in hospitals. That's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. It says and you were talking about concussions. It says injuries associated with participation in sports and recreational activities account for 21% of all traumatic brain injuries among children in the United States, too. And by age 13, 70% of kids drop out of youth sports. The top 3 reasons are coaches and parents. That's a whole nother topic we will talk about on another show.
Yes. Yes. But you know what? Even though I know we keep saying, let's not kind of address those pressures in this little hour. The one thing that when I was doing the research, it said, I have to find it. I screenshot it because I was like, oh, that's not me. I've always said that it's the NCAA just put out a thing. Did you come across that too?
I did not find that.
Look, I've got to find it. It says that recent studies show that children who specialize in a single sport are more likely to burn out, quit, parents. But it says that these college athletes that they surveyed said more than half of the athletes surveyed in most sports in this NCAA study said their family expected them to be college athletes. That doesn't mean that half the parents were overbearing and nut jobs taking out third mortgages for extra coaching, but it tells you that for whatever reason, those athletes felt that their parents steered them in that direction. So I thought that was an interesting thing. I'm like, oh yeah, because I've always talked about how I don't care if my kids play college, but maybe they just still think that's the expected path.
Yeah.
So subconsciously, even if you're not a crazy nut job parent, which I consider myself not a crazy nut job parent, I still could be putting, they still could think that's what they're supposed to do. No, that's not what they're supposed to do. I don't care. But go ahead.
One of the things, that I hear people talk about a lot are, as they get more and more skilled in their particular sport, they specialize. And so they're not playing multiple different sports. And that's when so many of the repetitive use injuries start to occur. Mine's only
right.
So, we're doing our best to sort of juggle the different activities. I mean, she's in dance, she's in basketball, and she's in soccer basically all year. Her choice, not mine. I mean, I'm not pushing her into it. Trust me, I don't want to be driving all over the Metroplex for her. But I kind of feel like it's important because I don't want her to be so singular focused on soccer right now because that's her biggest love. I mean, she's involved in other activities too, but is physically, I want her to be using the muscles that she uses for dance because those are totally different than soccer. And basketball is a lot more upper body than lower body, so I kind of think that those are important. And I'm hoping that we can do that for a long time and sort of reduce her risk for some of those repetitive use injuries that seem to be so common as the kids get older and more specialized. And that may be naive because I know that coaches also demand more and more time of them as they get older if they want them to excel. And so it's harder, it's that juggle struggle again, right?
Yeah, that we're facing that too because, okay, so AJ is he's 13 and he's always wanted to play multiple sports. We've always managed it. I don't know how, but I don't want him to think I can only do one thing because I want him to try different things. But, and then you walk into a team and I say, listen, AJ is a baseball player and he's a soccer player and he's a golfer. And so they say, oh yeah, no, absolutely. We encourage that. We absolutely encourage multiple sports. All the athletes that you're going to see at, the next level, the best athletes are all around athletes. They're not a baseball athlete. They're all around. So you walk in and they're like, oh, that's totally fine. We totally encourage that. My kids, but what happens is what?
One hand's not talking to the other hand. They say that, but then
it's not they say that, but what happens is you miss a game and a practice and there's consequences for everyone. If you're sick, if you're at grandma's birthday party, or if you're at soccer and you've missed a baseball game, there's consequences because you don't probably play the next game. Suppose, it depends on how they politically do that. Or this coach starts saying, okay, well, he's not as vested in this team, or he's not as
right.
Committed to this team. Or then both my kids are facing this now too. So then their playing time may or may not be affected. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But then really what's starting to happen even beside that is the kids are saying to themselves, if I want to really take this to the next level, I need to focus only on this so that I can get better at this. So it seems like 13, 14, 15, they're going to have to kind of decide, which I think is unfortunate but if they do want to play in the next level, they think they're supposed to only do that sport.
When we were growing up,
that's leading to injury.
It was, I know, we're old. But, I mean,
totally different.
Think about when we were in high school. When we were growing up, it was like, what's your winter sport? What's your spring sport? I mean, you played
but it was only really school. I mean, we had rec, but we don't have travel. I mean, our baseball teams are year-round. If you're on a travel team, you're year-round. If you're on your soccer team, you're year-round.
Yeah, we didn't
have year-round sports. We definitely didn't have year-round sports. So you could definitely say, okay, this time period, this time. Yeah. And nowadays, too, they're not allowed to overlap on certain teams and certain there's certain rules about that, which might be different for different states, or different high schools. But
are they coming to get
we didn't have the same. I know, right? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
I'm in between two firehouses, so I get them every time there's fire. I know anytime there's fire in my town.
Okay, so I have a couple other questions. So, when do you?
And I'm doing a terrible job.
I mean, you've had more. Thankfully, I mean, touch wood, we haven't had a significant injury yet. She's 7. I mean, yours are a lot older than hers. So, she's had minor injuries, but I've not, I've never had to take her to the doctor for anything. I mean, it's just been sort of like an ankle roll during practice, and she kind of said it sort of hurt, but nothing more significant than, for an hour, she was worried about it or whatever. But we know people who have competitive athletes and they'll injure themselves and it's significant, like you need to sit out for weeks. And what people probably don't know is that my uncle was a professional baseball player. And I asked him tonight, I was like, what's the one thing that you would tell moms about youth sports injuries? And he said, rest is absolutely necessary and overuse syndrome is the main cause of serious injury. So, as a mom, if you see your kid go down on the field, when do you treat it at home versus going to the doctor? How do you know?
Well, Megan played an entire tournament on a broken foot.
Exactly.
Don't ask me. I didn't take it seriously. She could walk on it. She seemed fine. She kept saying it hurt. It wasn't swollen. She was walking on it, but she said it hurt when she ran. So I know, publicly bad mom here. I literally was like, it seems fine. It's not swollen. You're completely walking on it. I only hear about it every now and then. It didn't seem, she wasn't limping, but she said her foot hurt. So at the end of the tournament, I think it was like a couple weeks went by and she said, it's still bothering me. And I was like, and I think it was even my ex-husband who was like, are you going to take her to the doctor? I'm like, I guess. It was broken.
Well, so I was looking, that was one of the things I looked online to see if there was sort of a, I mean, we joke with ours and we say, okay, is it bleeding? Do you need to go to the hospital? We run through like 3 questions, and if she says no to all of them, we're like, then get back on the field. But, so I thought this was an interesting acronym, RICE, and you probably know this, but it says,
I saw that.
If your child gets injured while playing sports, the best treatment plan is RICE. The R is for rest. Ice, obviously you need to ice the injury down, compression, and elevation. So I thought that was a good sort of thing to kind of keep in your mind of ways that you can immediately kind of help if they do have a
I
certain.
know, and the bad thing is that you got to know your kid a little bit too. Like, our Jake he probably sometimes wouldn't tell you if he was really injured because he doesn't want to sit out. AJ goes to practice sick. He begs me to go to practice. He begs, and I'm like, you're sick. You're not going to practice. Megan, she has no problem saying, yeah, I'm kind of tired. So you got to know your kid, because if they're, wanting to power through it, and maybe I don't think it's a boy-girl thing, but the boys are more apt to kind of maybe not want to say that they're hurt. Maybe.
Well, and the other thing is you don't want to baby them either. You don't want to like overreact to stuff. I mean, you've seen.
Okay, but here's my opinion on that.
React.
I baby my kids. I don't really. I try not to, but if you ask my husband and my ex-husband, I do. But here's the thing. My opinion is there's moms and dads for a reason. They give the kids balance. Dad can sit there and say, power through, power through, power through. And moms can say, come to me for a hug. You've got two parents, and the kids get both emotions. So I think it's okay if you kind of, I probably coddle my kids a little bit too much, maybe, but there's also dad and stepdad that's not.
Yeah. So what's the worst injury that your kids have ever had?
Well, I mean, Drew, okay, so he's 21 now. He jumped up, spun his head around, soccer player, knocked his two teeth out on the crossbar at the top. So he went up to do a header, turned around, hit the bar, which is crazy, crazy high, knocked his two teeth out. They fell out. His friend, I think it was Max, whose mom is a dentist or some dental hygienist, I'm not sure which, knew enough to shove them back in his mouth and hold on to it. And he called dad, Rick, and took him to the hospital. And they don't do anything for him at the hospital, of course, because they're a hospital, not a dentist. But so that was pretty bad. But then Drew had concussions. Grant had concussions. I think the concussions are the worst. I'm sure Jake had concussions. Megan had a broken foot. Those are the worst sports injuries so far.
So I've noticed that the sports complex, you have sports complexes, right? Like big, giant indoor facilities with 15 basketball courts and 3 soccer fields and private cheerleading. Yeah. So I've noticed that ours now are starting to have urgent care built in.
Not all. I don't know how I feel about that.
I know. That's what I said the first time I saw it. I was like, what? I was driving by. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because it was like on the other side from where we park. So they do martial arts. They do swimming. They do basketball. They have soccer. I mean, this is a big complex. They have, like a yogurt shop in the middle. They've got, a retail shop. But they also have an urgent care on site.
Okay, great that we're able to respond to situations that may require attention beyond a bag of ice from the concessions. But has it come to the fact that we have to have emergency care because we're not either A, getting treatment in a timely manner from our children's injuries, or that we're being so injury prone that we're just gonna do it right there? I don't know. What do you think about that?
I thought it was noteworthy. I mean, on the one hand, as a parent, I'm like, okay, well, I think I'm glad that I would know that there would be, urgent care so close if we needed it. On the other hand, it's like, why has youth sports escalated to that point where it's a great idea and like the obvious idea? I don't know. I mean,
interesting.
It's great exposure if you're an athlete and you're struggling with a injury or something to be walking by. I mean, maybe that's a place that you would go. And maybe they have doctors that are not just urgent. I don't know.
You'd hope that these facilities are being so comprehensive that they're going to provide services on site, that they would at least be spending the same amount of same amount of resources educating to avoid injury. Or if it's just, well, that's an easy solution. Now no one can accuse us of not being able to respond to these types of things.
Like I said, it was noteworthy. I'm not sure exactly how I don't feel enthusiastic about it one way or the other. It was just, look at that. That's sort of a statement. Okay, so I have one more question.
That's stupid. They should just put them in schools anyways. You're going to put those urgent cares in schools so that when they get lice or when they get all these other crazy things that we have to deal with, then I could take it to the school.
I know. Well, if you put that into the school, then somebody would make more money than when you send them down to the school nurse when they're sick and they don't send them home.
Yeah.
I'll get off that soapbox. So at what point as a mom are you able to step back and go, you know what, these injuries are so great that my kid needs to stop? Because I think,
I always think of gymnasts are the most, to me, intense athletes out there.
Sure. For sure.
And maybe dancers.
Crazy stuff that they're doing to their bodies. It's insane.
Crazy stuff they're doing to their bodies, such the physical demanding thing. But and then I think of dancers who are trying to control what their body, looks like or how it develops. That's kind of damaging as well. It's not an injury, but it's like wrestlers when they're trying to do all these crazy things about weight and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, that's
so hard on your body and your heart. That can't be good for you. Those sweatsuits and stuff.
Right. Or the the binging, the purging, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe the football players are doing it too. I don't really know, but they're probably not as weight driven. I don't know. Yeah, it's the bad thing is the kind of mom that's going to kind of keep pushing.
Yeah,
is going to keep pushing. Hopefully, and you're not going to get support from the coaches.
Well, no, because they get money.
Who gets money?
Well, if they're in a gym.
Oh, I thought you meant coaches.
If you're a gymnast, you have gym fees, and they don't want you to be injured or quit.
That's true. That's how it is for cheerleading and.
Yeah, it goes for any of those. It goes for cheerleading. It goes for dance.
That's true. There's a vested interest in ignoring issues
and keeping them going. I know. So, I mean, obviously, I think at some point you have to say, okay, well, if this is going to, and I think there's probably a conscious decision at some point. I mean, I'm sure there's a spectrum, and I'm sure you sort of go along it without realizing you're getting closer and closer to when you should probably have your kid quit the sport. If they're getting so many repetitive use injuries, you can probably ignore it for a really long time, but then they're going to start getting injuries that you have to know are going to affect them when they're our age, right?
Right.
I mean,
the basketball, if they're getting ACL surgery when they're
exactly
high school.
And so there's got to be a point as a parent where you're like, you know what? We can do the surgeries and we can do all that to get you normal again, but do you keep playing? Is this to mend you so you can keep going, or is this to mend you so you can have a normal life? I mean, how as a parent do you have that out of body sort of moment, and how involved do you have your kid in that to say, okay, you know what, you're going to injure yourself beyond repair. Are you sure you want to keep doing with this, or do you make that decision to say, you know what, no, you're done?
I've definitely seen it. I'd say I'm done, but and I don't value sports like other people do, even though I have 6 athletes, but I don't value sports like that. But so to me, it's an easy answer, but I definitely have.
And it, like, if they're in one sport and they love it, and it sort of defines them.
They're able to love it. They're able to love it without being in travel sports. And that's the, difference. They're able to love it. Listen, AJ plays soccer, baseball, and golf, and he loves all of them. He also likes basketball. He's not a spectacular basketball player compared to some of the other kids who definitely are going to be taller and better. I still am like, go play basketball. Go get on the rec team. You need to play basketball. If you love, but he doesn't want to because he's not as competitive. Why? It's basketball. Go play. So it makes me crazy that there's not, he doesn't feel comfortable in that environment because he's not as competitive, he can't compete on that level. Go play basketball.
Well, that's interesting because my uncle played professional baseball for 18 years, but that wasn't his first sports love. He liked basketball.
I've heard that a lot. Baseball players, basketball and football. I hear that a lot too. Like there'll be a really good baseball player, a football player, but they'll end up playing basketball. It's wherever they get the scholarships for sometimes.
Exactly. He loved baseball too, obviously, but if he had his choice, I think it would have been basketball.
Really? Yeah, I can see that. He's tall.
Huh?
That's interesting.
So, and that goes back to having good coaches and good, he had a great career for his second love sport, I think. I know he's talked about basketball.
Yeah.
And that was his favorite, but he couldn't get a scholarship in it. He got a scholarship in baseball. So, and that's the trajectory he went on. Yeah,
I've heard that before. I know a couple of players who played in college, and they said that they ultimately had to pick their sport based on their scholarships and not necessarily the sport they would have rather played.
But how old were they?
But
are they like our age? Because again, I think we're going back to that where when we were growing up, it was more common to have multi-sport. These days the kids are so specialized that I don't know that they'd even have the opportunity for somebody to say, well,
no, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of I'm trying to think of my very narrow whatever, looking at Jake and Grant and AJ's peers. There's a handful of pure absolute athletes, and they do play still multiple sports.
Do they?
But I think you're right. It's unusual. Maybe just like that top little, and maybe those kids really will have, but they are, really great football players, really great basketball players. Usually 2. I can't think of too many that are playing 3, but I don't know.
It's too hard to juggle 3.
Yeah.
We juggle 3 right now, but then there's the whole discussion. Like I always thought dance was very athletic. You look at Misty Copeland, and some of these ballet dancers have an amazing strength and agility, and and you think, oh well, that's sport, but then you talk to, for example, her dance instructor, and she's like, it's not sport, it's art.
Huh. That's funny because here we are defending the cheerleaders and the dancers as being athletes.
Yeah.
And they say it's art.
Well, and our definition was poignant, and I'm trying to remember, but it was basically I don't even remember what, I don't remember what her argument was, but when she said it, I was kind of like, huh. Okay, I can see that, but I still think that they're athletes.
Yeah, because the big controversy in our house is our cheerleaders, athletes.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Is dance a sport or art? Huffington Post.
Yeah, I don't. I was not a cheerleader. I may not have thought this before Sierra got involved in cheerleading, and it is definitely a sport because they
cheerleading, yeah,
have practice. They have the same competitions. They have the same. I mean, like competitive. I don't know about the high school cheerleading, but the dance kind of competition where they're really it's a gymnast. They're dancing, and it's called cheerleading.
And I mean, it's amazing.
They're practicing and cheerleading, and it's intense. And so I have to defend the cheerleaders for sure, because anyone that doesn't think it's a sport hasn't sat down at the Ohio Convention Center all day long and watched those girls practice and cheer and compete.
And I mean, it's amazing what they do. Amazing. Yeah. No argument for me. I think they're athletes for sure. But
yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have about kids and injuries.
Well, it's an interesting conversation because it definitely lends to our future conversations, bad sports parents, because
oh my gosh,
every time I see a really good article on Facebook about kind of identifying and good behaviors and bad behaviors of sports, I want to tag all the bad sports parents that I know. And I would never do that because I don't like conflict, but I really want to someday. Oh. Listen, you're a bad sports parent. You're a crazy person, and you're making everyone else experience bad too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
someday I will.
Topic for the future. Amen to that. All right, so back to Thursday morning this week?
Yep, Thursday morning. So what's our topic Thursday then?
I don't remember.
What will we be talking about on Thursday? I don't have my sheets here.
So if you're just tuning in, what we do each show that we do a product review, a little craft, like a craft review or a DIY. DIY, that sounds better. We do a DIY, we do a product review, and then we have sort of a larger topic. So the smaller topics are at the beginning, kind of let people sort of filter in and fill the room, and then we do the major topic of the day. So, and then I think on Thursday, are we going to switch it since you and I switched tonight?
Oh yeah, you want me? I'll do my craft by then. I'll either be able to show off my amazing school project. I mean, my daughter's school project, or this rug that I'm working on.
Awesome. Well, I will do a product review, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. It's sitting right here in front of me.
Is it a kitchen appliance?
No pressure cookers for me.
No.
Nope. And I don't have our topic in front of me. Do you have our topic for this week?
No, I don't. It's upstairs. It's really unusual.
Well, we'll tweet it out. We'll post it.
Yeah.
So be sure and subscribe up there. Subscribe.
Oh, yeah. I haven't done any hands free.
Oh, here.
I don't really know what this does, but
sure.
Does it show up later at all?
I don't know.
Hey, what?
I don't know. It's fun.
You're winning.
We're clicking faster. All right. That's good. Have a good night.
All right. See you.
Talk to you later. Bye.